Today is the start of Palestine Reading Week. Palestine Reading Week is a week where we talk about and we read books from Palestine. I participated in this last year. I'll put the video above and in the description down below. And basically Palestine Reading Week is where a bunch of publishers have come together and basically said, hey, this is a week where we're going to be talking about Palestine. You should read books about Palestine and go off and read and share the information about them. I'm going to try, and I should succeed, in reading 3 books about Palestine this week. And yeah, it seems like a lot, but I'm going to try and read all 3 of them this week. So I'm going to have them in the description down below, but let's get into them in no particular order. The first one we are going to be reading is We Are Not Numbers. We Are Not Numbers is a collection of essays from the youth of Palestine from about 2015 to 2025 right now. It's a collection of writings from those youth, particularly from Gaza, but also from the West Bank as well. And it is these young people writing about their lives, writing about their experiences, writing about their goals, their dreams, what it's like to be a Palestinian, what it means to be a Palestinian, what it is like to live in Palestine, resistance, scaredness, futility, hope, joy, sadness, all of them are covered in this book. This book is also dedicated to the amazing, wonderful martyr Rafat al-Arir. He was martyred by the Israelis alongside members of his family. If you don't know Rafat, you'll know the poem that he wrote, If I Shall Die, which it became like a I don't know what the words escape me, but Rafat, I've spoken about one of his books here before, which is Gaza Writes Back, which I think really came out in 2009, which is a collection again of essays and poems and writings from Gazan youth. So this book is dedicated to him. It's important to read from the people themselves. It's why the journalists that were and are in Palestine are so important. It's important to get the things right from them themselves, without the masking of the truth from external forces, from the people themselves telling you their experiences, their lives, what it is like to be a Palestinian. We are not numbers, because when it comes from other people talking about them, they are portrayed as numbers and figures. But when it comes to the people themselves, you actually are like, no, these are human beings. These are real people. We should actually, see what they have to say about themselves, about their experiences. So much so that even I telling you about Palestine, I read so many books about Palestine, I've made so many videos about books from Palestine, but even me telling you that is not the same as them telling you it. Me telling you the plight of the Palestinians is not the same as them saying it to you. So I'm pointing over here because I've got the book over there. So please, this is a newer book as well. It came out this year as well. It's, I think, the newest of all the ones we're talking about today. So We Are Not Numbers is the first book. The next book we're going to be talking about is Environmental Warfare in Gaza. This book is something that actually is something I've gotten more interested in. If you don't know, personally, I've decided to go back to university this year, and colonialism, the environment, all things are being covered in the course that I'm actually studying right now. And environmental warfare in Gaza is documenting and talking about how Israel uses eco-colonialism to inflict pain on the Palestinians, whether it be the bulldozing of Palestinian homes, whether it be the destroying of their fields, whether it be using destroying the ecology in general to prevent Palestinians being able to live on the land in the future, or making the land less useful, and how the environment is being destroyed as a means to destroy the Palestinians, but also going into how Palestinians are fighting back, using the environment, using the ecology to counteract the harm of Israel's tactics, of Israel's warfare. It's, It's going to be, I think, a very depressing, but also hopefully in some sense, is uplifting the right word? Potentially, inspiring read. I believe it is the shortest of all the reads I've got, although that might simply be because of it's a tall book instead of a thick book, if that makes sense. It is one I think might be the most challenging of the 3 reads. I think it is more academic than the other 2 books. The other 2 perhaps appeal slightly more to a popular read in culture. This one, from what I can see from the excerpts I've read and just flicking through the book, it feels like it's going to be quite academic. So I think it will be one I'll struggle with, purely because I've still not gotten into the academic mindset just yet, despite having gone back to university. But I feel like it is one that, in the long run, I'm going to be really interested in, and also one I think hopefully I can translate the teachings to and talk to people about, if that makes sense. And the final book we're going to be talking about is The Palestine Laboratory. I've spoken about this book before, and I'm reading it again because I've actually never read it in its entirety. In the past, I've just gone through kind of using the glossary and stuff at the end to get excerpts, to get kind of pieces of information, but I've never sat and read the whole thing in its entirety. So we're going to be reading that, hopefully completely, in this week coming. So The Palestine Laboratory is all about how the Israeli arms industry and Israel in general uses Palestine as a way to test weapons, and not just weapons, but test technologies on the Palestinians, which Israel then uses and exports to countries around the world. One example I think maybe you should have heard of, because it's been in the news recently, is like the Pegasus system, where Israel basically created this spy software and infected a bunch of politicians and journalists, and then they have sold this off to other countries to be able to spy on people they want. This includes countries like India and many of the Gulf states and other countries that we don't know that they have sold it to. But not just software, not just spyware. Weapons are tested on Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, by the military, by the settlers, and then Israel kind of uses that as a means to basically say, hey, these weapons are tested. These weapons, we know how they work. Here's the data for how these weapons work. We can sell them at a higher price to you because you know they work. And Israel sells these things to not just, the United States. They sell it to India, Russia, the EU, the UK, all of these countries that try to present themselves as, we are great, we are forward thinking, we love humanity, and they buy weapons and technologies that have been tested on the Palestinian people like guinea pigs, and they have no qualms with that because they want these weapons. They want to have the data to be able to use them themselves. The quadcopters we've been seeing being used in the West Bank and Gaza, particularly over the past 2 to 3 years, they've started using them in the United States. The exact same ones that Israel make and used, tested on the Palestinian people, are now being used in the United States. I shouldn't need to say this, but what your country's allies do to their own people, your country will do to you. They're just using other people as a test before they do it on you. So if that's what gets you to care about this stuff, at least care now. You shouldn't need to care if it only affects you, but if that's what gets you to, care now. And that's what the Palestine Laboratory is all about. So again, of the 3 books, the hardest one I believe is going to be Environmental Warfare in Gaza, just because it feels a lot more academic, but I think they're all going to be difficult reads in their own ways, if that makes sense. So We Are Not Numbers, I think, will make me cry and make me sad. Environmental Warfare in Gaza, I think, will challenge me academically, and I think the Palestine Laboratory will be one that makes me angry. So different aspects of me coming through in all of these books, but hey, you don't need to read these ones. I will try and link to, I think, Publishers for Palestine down below, where they maybe have some books that you can check out. Again, you don't need to buy them. I will link them down below, but you can get them from you can get some books about Palestine from your local library. You could even get some of these probably from your local library, or check out a secondhand store to go and pick up some of these books. If you are participating in Palestine Reading Week, do let me know in the comments down below what books you are going to be reading. I'm very interested in that. My members, actually, I'm going to show on the screen, they're going to have their own thread where I'll probably talk about in more detail about my reads for Palestine Reading Week, in addition to the book club that we have, which runs every month. So, you know, if you want to kind of be part of that thread, which and also like a community thing on YouTube, I'm trying to build out a little bit more. You can become a member from as little as £1 a month, and you'll get access to that thread where I'll be going through and talking about the books that I've read, and I'll probably make like an additional really in-depth video for them as well at the end of this week, where we talk about the books that we read for Palestine Reading Week. But even if you don't want to be a member, please do let me know in the comments down below the books you're going to be reading for Palestine Reading Week, and just in general, fiction, non-fiction, poetry, anything. I am super interested. So yeah, thank you for watching, and as always, free Palestine.